Good evening, everyone. Thank you for attending the March 3rd, 2020 meeting of the Orangetown Planning and Zoning Commission. Let's begin tonight by having those seated at the table introduce themselves, please.
Tammy Trantalis, Administrative Assistant.
Tom Tarenti.
Paul Kaplan.
Kevin Cornell.
Jack Demergent, Assistant Zoning Officer.
Paul Denise, Zoning Administrator and Enforcement Officer.
And I am Commissioner Ozzie Parenti. Commissioner Judy Smith is not with us this evening. She had a prior engagement, so we'll have to forge on without her. Let's begin with item number 1 on our agenda, which is a review of the minutes from the February 18th, 2020 meeting. Everyone have a chance to look those over?
Yes.
I have a few comments, but
I have only one.
all right. You want to go ahead, Kevin? Or we'll take it page by page? I have one on page 1.
All right, you can go first then.
I would just, in that election of officers as per section 7, that paragraph, I would just add in January during every even-numbered year, in January.
Okay.
I'll keep going until we hit yours, all right?
Absolutely.
All right. Second full paragraph on page 2. Discussion ensued regarding noticing adjacent neighbors. Then a couple lines down, it says, the zoning office currently notifies adjacent property owners for subdivisions and I would add variance applications, right? Variance applications with
Oh,
the zoning board of
okay.
appeals.
Okay.
In the last full paragraph, ZEO Denise stated that the current language in the regulations allows the letting of rooms, and I would add, in single-family homes
Okay.
in the residential district, right? Second full paragraph on page 3.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
On page 2? Sorry. So in that second full paragraph where it said, Commissioner Cornell stated, noticing adjacent neighbors is not necessarily in our best interest if not authorized by the statutes,
By the regulations.
regulations,
Okay,
sorry.
okay.
On the second full paragraph, page 3, second line, we refer to strange people. I thought maybe we could say unknown. Unknown people,
I like strange. Okay, unknown.
or strange and unknown. And then the only other ones I had were on page 5.
Yeah.
Commissioner Cornell, this is at the bottom, second to last full paragraph,
Yep.
expresses belief that for previously stated reasons, repurposing to the light industrial 1 zone is a move in the right direction. The parcel does not have, I would add, significant frontage, because it does have,
Yeah, it's the
Frontage.
right
Oh.
of the driveway.
I would say, significant frontage on Boston Post Road. I think Kevin was trying to say it's not a great commercial property because.
Correct.
Where Lowe's was, right?
Yeah, because it's not right on Boston Post Road, only as the driveway is.
Right.
Okay.
And as long as you're there, the next sentence, the project will not affect traffic, is not adversely affect traffic on Boston
Oh,
Post Road.
okay.
I think you were referencing the fact that there was another street that.
Yeah, the context was that the truck access, of which this would primarily be, is going to cut back to Bull Hill Lane behind on
What was the name of the? there was another
Carlson
one.
or
Carlson,
something?
I think it was,
Something like that.
yeah.
All right, that was all I had. Did anybody have anything else?
Nope.
Okay, then, somebody want to make a motion to approve?
Move that we approve the minutes for the February 18th, 2020 meeting as amended.
All right,
Second that.
We have a motion to approve the minutes. It's been seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. Next item on our agenda is old business. Does anyone have anything under that topic that they'd like to bring up?
Would that be the place to talk about the status of the LI2 noticing and, the Todd noticing?
Yeah, I was actually gonna mention that too, but I see Tammy passed out,
The notices.
the notices, not the legal notice for the hearing, but
Notice to
the
neighbors.
notices to the referrals.
Referrals.
So it looks like it's progressing, right?
Okay.
Yeah, so we have to wait 35 days before we can hold our meeting.
All right,
Maybe half the time we do get a response.
okay,
And I also made some calls to Yale University and followed up with a letter, just to let them know that, hey, we're changing the zoning designation of property you own. We would like to know any comments and concerns that you have.
okay. All right, so that's not like,
On the phone, they were reluctant to nail down who to talk to, so I just sent it to the general office that was there.
yeah,
My experience has been with other issues, especially the drainage issue with the hotel, is that they are extremely slow-moving
yeah.
in making a decision, so I don't know if I'll hear from them, but I sent the letter out certified and regular.
Okay, so it's not likely we'll be able to notice the meeting for any time sooner than second meeting
I
in
think
April, maybe?
there's a tentative date in that referral letter,
Okay, which is what?
don't have it in front of me.
April 21.
April
All
21.
right, so our second meeting in April then. All right, so we're moving it along.
One quick question about the approval that we had, given to the, I forget the name of the orange.
Yeah, it expires in September.
That's what it was, okay. And so we don't have to worry about changing the
You
zone?
know, you could also argue that that special permit was issued to that property owner,
Right.
and that it's not transferable. That could be a legal argument.
What are you thinking?
This change of zone will affect them, correct? Because they,
No, they are not the owners anymore.
Oh, they
Special
sold that.
permit, the special permit was issued to Orange,
I forgot that they sold.
whatever LLC, and Yale has purchased the property, so there's even
cleaner
a
than it
large
was before.
question as to whether or not that special permit can even be transferred.
Why, because they ordinarily are not transferable?
Correct.
That's correct.
Okay. All right, in any case, again, the train's not gonna be stopping here, so,
Right,
I mean, it's-
and that was the predicate.
right. All right. Anything else under old business? What was I was gonna ask you, you're working on putting something together for the Airbnb, right?
Yes.
How do we leave that?
Well, I talked to Vinnie about it.
Yeah.
And he's gonna get back to me on it, and I showed him what I did.
Okay, so he's reviewing some language that
Yes.
you worked on, okay.
But it basically was going in the direction of, the difficulty was that we would let rooms from month to month, which would have been okay.
Right, the big issue is renting them on a daily
Daily
basis
basis,
or a
right.
weekly basis.
Right. Okay. Anything else under old business? All right, how about under the topic of new business? All right, then, item number 4, report of the zoning enforcement officer. Paul, you have a report for us?
Just that we've been extremely busy past couple weeks. I think there's a movement to try to process some stuff before I leave. But other than that, I've told him Jack will be here to assist him. He's
Right.
been sitting in on all our meetings of anything coming up.
I'm not paying attention to that date, because I'm hoping it's not coming, so I'm just ignoring the fact.
But.
I'm ignoring the fact
So
that
that's
you're
it. I know
retired.
Jack has made inspections up at 197 Indian River. That's the assisted living facility, and
What's
he's stuck-
going on there?
At 197,
Yeah,
doing all the earthwork, right now. I know earlier in the week, they ended up actually finding a drain that went all the way from the back of the VA parcel all the way down to Indian River Road, and they didn't know where it began, so the engineer and I, Bob Britton, went out, looked at it, and it does originate from their parcel, but it's, you know, something between them. Because they definitely didn't put it in during the construction of the new VA, so it had to have been something just
Right.
existing. So I know KBE, the builders on 197, are getting in contact with the project manager for the VA. I gave him his contact information, and I know they were gonna work on figuring that out. Other than that, just a lot of moving dirt right now.
Earthworks,
So, yeah.
right.
And he's also been out at New Met, which is at the corner of Edison
Yep.
and
Prindle Hill.
Prindle.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they just got all of their erosion control and silt fencing up, and
And
they're
they're,
pretty much in the same stage of moving dirt and
Okay.
breaking off the edge of the existing parking lot.
I made a few inspections at 131 Boston Post Road. So things are going a little better
okay,
at the moment.
all right, well, good, I'm glad to hear that,
That's the.
even though I can't
Betty Barn?
participate.
There's still some things that have to be done there, but they're somewhat better. He's got to be a little bit better with his S&E controls. Every time I go out there, they're not where they're supposed to, and I have to direct them to put them there. So I haven't been out there in about 2 or 3 days, or since last Friday, but
Okay,
I'll be out again tomorrow.
all right. Any other significant developments that we need to be aware of, or?
Not on the zoning end.
A lot of questions coming in about the Sam's property, so we might hear something on that in the future.
Okay. All right, anybody, any questions for Paul? No? All right. Well, we might as well keep it moving then. Next item is a request for modification of special use. This is submitted by Richard and Michelle Gustafson for property known as 786 Derby Milford Road. If you recall, we had granted an approval to construct a 36 by 40-foot barn.
Didn't we do it right?
And we're doing it over again. And the owner would like to add a 12 by 32-foot lean-to style shed roof on the left side of the barn. Is the applicant here? You want to approach the podium, please?
How you doing, everyone?
Good, how are you?
Good. Yeah, I want to put that, it's like an open carport on the left side of the barn. My primary reason for, trying to do that was talking to a guy who was going to come and do the epoxy coat floor covering in the barn floor, on the concrete. They warned me about sand and salt could still harm the floor. With the money I'm spending on that epoxy coated floor, they said, I plow driveways for the winter, not this winter, but most winters. That sand and salt on the truck, he said, you gotta leave it outside. Well, I don't wanna leave it outside in the weather and everything, and then I came across, the project that you guys approved for Bill Berluti on Gentry. He's building a big barn there, and he's got the big carport, on the side of the barn. And I thought that would be perfect for my issue. Put it on the left side of the barn, and then I can park it underneath if it's got, all that sand and salt and junk in the wheel wells that gotta melt off,
Right.
so I don't put it inside and get puddles and ruin my floor.
If I remember correctly, this is a very large site, right?
Yeah, I got almost 3 acres.
Almost 3 acres. So,
And
Paul,
Go down, it goes
Right. In the
back.
downgrade behind the house.
it's behind like
and
trees.
it's
except-
pretty hidden, pretty,
It was like when you approved this last year, you
Yeah.
couldn't see it when the trees
Right.
were up. And my neighbor doesn't take care of his trees. 3 trees blew down in a windstorm last year. So you could see a little from Derby Milford Road now, and the trees were still in his yard,
Okay.
But I'm planting trees to block that again.
all right. So,
But even this, like the carport's on the left side, even the less visible side, of anything.
all right.
We have enough side yards and back?
Yeah, that
Yeah,
was really my
way
only
more.
question.
Because I don't see it on the plan here.
Well, I didn't bring the original one, but I'm like
There
well
is
over 100 feet.
a great distance from all setbacks.
Yeah.
I mean, hundreds of feet.
And nothing, then the lot density requirements, same, no issue, no zoning issues,
It's not even
not even close.
close.
Okay.
I've forgotten your first name, I'm sorry.
Rich.
Rich, What are you planning to park, commercial vehicles or,
No, like my truck or my van, but, I also got an old, antique, farm tractor with a dump trailer for my firewood. Cause my firewood shed's way back there. It's 200 feet from my house, so in the wintertime, we gotta lug it up. But right now, that tractor's outside,
Okay. Any other questions? Tom?
It's gonna be post and beam also, rough sawn post and beams with the braces, diagonal braces on. It's gonna look like that country barn. It's just gonna add to that look that I designed it with.
Yeah, I mean, I really had no concerns other than the zoning concerns,
Yeah.
and it sounds like that's not an issue, or not even close to being an issue. Any other questions?
I have a discussion, I don't have a question.
A discussion?
Yeah.
All right.
So,
Throw it out there.
so if as I remember, it was a beautiful handcrafted barn with a gable-y type roof,
Yeah.
post and beam,
Post and beam main structure.
large interior open space, so with, as you said, the epoxy floor, so you could store cars in there.
Yeah.
And work. It was approved to be unoccupied. The discussion I wanna have with the board that makes me uneasy is that the asks on all of these accessory buildings seem to get bigger and bigger each time they
Yeah.
come in.
Yeah.
This is not just you, sir, so
Yeah, I
I'm
know.
sorry.
Cause like Bill Berludi's is a lot bigger than mine.
No.
You know?
Agreed, and for a second, when I saw this, I thought it was his application coming back, I was going,
Yeah.
oh, hang on, guys. But, so, my question is, at what point does our discretion become, there's no rules at all? Now, what we've been doing is looking at it as discretion in the context of the special use
Right,
permitting,
exactly.
and going through the checklist of general things to make sure they generally applied, impacts to the neighborhood,
Property
values, all that.
traffic, right.
and maybe not now or tonight or this application isn't the place, but maybe where this discretion shows up in the residential regs, we should be putting in some additional specific criteria, to consider.
what kind?
Again, that's why it's a discussion, I think, for a different day, but I wanted to start it, is that,
Because they certainly have been coming in bigger, no question about it.
I mean,
but-
uh,
They have, but,
But they're all in the context of how big the size of the lot is and the lay of the land.
I mean, we have a
the
great deal
visibility, yeah.
of discretion under the special use.
and again, that might be where we get to at the end,
And there are a number of specific considerations
right.
for us to make.
Well, there's
which I think-
specific
which I think I-
determinations, yeah.
Which I think we did on this.
Oh, no, we did,
Yeah,
absolutely.
We did. So, I mean, I'm open to any suggestions on that.
Yeah.
But my initial reaction is, it's probably already there. I mean, we can say no. We just haven't had a reason to say no.
Yeah,
I think. I mean, otherwise, why wouldn't we have said no?
oh, no, no one's particularly shy, it's
Right.
just, and, I'm sorry, I'm
It's okay.
talking around you, sir.
Time.
Don't
Don't feel obligated to say no to me first, though.
So just to prove, hey, so just to prove a point, Kevin.
Yeah, just to prove a point, get out of here.
Aye.
But, sorry, that was not appropriate. I think just maybe if we all just take a close look at it and think, and I'll look and think if maybe there's a specific suggestion. I just want to say that as these keep coming in bigger,
Yeah.
and then what kind of pushed me over the edge was the second bite at the apple.
Yeah.
Again, nothing personal.
Yeah,
Well, there's certainly, when they start to get as big as the house, and I don't, not.
well, we looked at one on, wasn't it Derby Milford Road? There were numerous buildings,
Oh, I remember that one, yes.
which together
We're bigger.
dwarfed
Yes.
the
Yeah.
house.
Right, but they also I think they were gonna tear down a barn at that
But
one.
there were some issues regarding
that was messy.
commercial use, right? I mean,
Yeah,
there was
yeah,
some
right.
retail use or something going on, right?
I think
Right.
so.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but it's, again, eventually you don't want it to become, I mean, like, everything can become an enforcement issue, as we run into. You know, we don't want to approve a barn even on a large lot where then Paul's going by and there's like a fire truck parked in the thing, or a 60-foot RV. But,
Yeah, well, I don't disagree with what you're saying. When I first look at the applications and I see the magnitude of the addition,
yeah,
my first reaction is hesitancy.
Yeah.
But then, you go through those considerations, those factors that we need to make a finding on under a special use application. And we always seem to be, or almost always seem to be comfortable.
And a lot of that because of the applications that have been in front of us really haven't violated any of those parameters. One was about, the back was Route 1, the other one was 5 acre. I mean,
Well, there was one like on, what's that?
Wilson.
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 And we were concerned.
Yeah, I did that one too.
And we asked for trees, buffer, between that property and the adjoining property. So, I mean, those are the kind of considerations we make, I think, pretty routinely.
okay.
See how the next one comes in.
All right. Anything further for the applicant? Okay, thank you.
Nothing right?
All right,
Thank you for your time.
I'm free to go?
yes.
Thanks, everyone.
Not yet, not good
I
yet.
I had noted that, can we make the same findings on this application that we did on the initial application with respect to the special use requirements? I think those findings,
Yeah, they're still
Still
valid
valid.
as long as we're not violating
Right.
the setbacks.
all right. Well, if everybody, I mean, I'm comfortable with the application. If everybody else is, or, let's make a motion to approve. Somebody.
I will do that. Hang on. So I'll move that we approve the request submitted by Richard and Michelle Gustafson for the property known as 786 Derby Milford Road. The approval was granted initially to construct a 36 by 40-foot barn, and the property owner would like to add a 12-foot by 32-foot lean-to style shed on the left side of the barn.
All right, we have a motion to approve the application. Do we have a second?
Second.
It's been seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All right. All right, the final item on our agenda this evening is a request for reduction of site plan bond, which is submitted by FedEx for the project at 161 Marsh Hill Road. The current bond is $4,381,284. The reduction request is $4,205,584, such that we would
Leave about
have a
$175.
proposed remaining bond of $175,700.
Yep,
You're the applicant.
I am. Yep. Good evening. For the record, my name's Tim O'Neill with Langen Engineering, here on behalf of Scannell Properties for the 161 Marshall Road development. And I'm here to discuss the bond reduction request, and I can either go through and walk you through our thought process through it, or if you want to open it up to questions, I'm happy to do it either way.
Well, what might help is just a quick overview of the site as it exists today.
Sure.
And when you think they're gonna be CO'd and open for business.
Right. So currently, they halted pouring the concrete pavement for the truck court as the winter came, and now things are warming up, so they'll be able to lay the pavement down and have the right temperatures for curing. So as soon as that gets going, the remaining earthwork and site work can be completed and developed, and then it will mostly move inside to complete the building for, chasing the TCO and the CO for the opening of the building. So right now, the retaining wall is fully constructed. They're almost completely done with landscaping, and you'll notice in the bond, I reduced the landscaping by 90%, or earthwork, sorry. And that's just finishing touches, so like topsoil, planting, mulching, that type of thing. They do have probably about half the site, maybe a little bit more to do with concrete work for paving in the truck court areas, things like that. The building, both buildings are up, the maintenance shed and the trucking distribution facility. They're working on doing the interior right now, but this bond is specifically related to site work. So the intention of the bond was, in the worst-case scenario, if the site was left abandoned, that it would be returned to a safe condition for the public, which would mean no large pits, a stable site for landscaping, vegetation-wise, substantial features, things like that. Retaining wall would be in place, and then site safety features like the fire loop, hydrants, things like that would be installed, which substantially have been installed at this point. So we have utilities, oh, sorry, too fast.
So to be clear, for all of us to be clear, the bituminous asphalt and the concrete aprons where the trailer bodies butt up against the building are not part of this bond?
Those are not part of this bond, no.
Okay.
So if the site were to be abandoned today, those would be landscaped and stabilized so that they wouldn't run away. The soils would stay in place and not affect off-site properties. And that would be the intention of this bond, to return the site to a safe condition for the public.
So right now, if I'm reading this correctly, you're saying retaining walls, complete. Underground utilities, complete. Underground stormwater management and drainage structures, complete.
That's correct, yes.
Landscaping, predominantly complete. The buildings happen to be up, but they're not subject to the bond. So it's your contention that if the bituminous asphalt and concrete areas, which comprise 3 acres, or how much?
Probably larger, I'd say close to 5 acres left.
Okay, so you're saying that this bond reduction should cover 5 acres of hydroseeding to, or something like
Right,
that?
and I actually went and I did out the little areas that I would assume would need to hydroseed or mechanically seed, which is a little more expensive, so I priced it that way.
Okay.
And I included areas to be landscaped in the future to ensure that they have grass take root, and I included areas that were not currently paved but should be in the future, and it came out to around $20,000, so.
What? Can I ask a couple of questions? Okay.
He's
Yeah,
the
no,
applicant,
go ahead.
sorry.
Yeah, I didn't know if you were done with.
No, don't look at me.
Okay, so, can you, instead of going what you have done, can you tell me what you
Yeah.
haven't done? And not you
No, yeah, and
personally.
I think that's a good approach to
Okay.
show you what I've left in there. So,
Before you do that,
Yeah.
I'm curious as to why the bond reduction isn't based on a schedule of values
as in,
or an approved requisition rather than your estimate.
well, our bond was based off of the estimate that we provided and was approved. And it went through the town review process and went through and was accepted by all parties as the
So
bond
this
amount.
represents how the bond was calculated.
Correct, yes.
Okay.
So this was the original bond, broken out by item, to say this is what we'd like to provide, and say this should be installed for site safety if the site were left untouched.
Good.
So all parties came together, agreed on that, and now working through what has and has not been installed, I can start at the beginning and run through.
Just tell me what hasn't been there, because I'm trying to, I mean,
Sure.
conceptually, what I would like to know is what hasn't been done, adding up that value, okay, so that the town is protected. And then someone's gonna explain to me why we shouldn't hold enough to finish paving the areas that we're talking about seeding in the
Right.
event that this distribution center didn't.
Because it might be in the way of whatever goes there the next time. You might have to rip it out.
And I would think the
Oh, sorry.
preference would be grass over pavement if the site were to be left, from a stormwater and environment approach.
So,
But
so the paving's not part of the bond?
no, it
It's
is
not
not.
covered under the bond that you're asking to be reduced?
The paving is not included,
Right.
no.
Was it, but it was included in the initial bond?
No, it was not.
It's just-
Okay, then I
Right.
understand. Okay.
So just to run through what I've
Yeah.
left in here, just to keep it appropriate, is the 10% earthwork is just to get some equipment on site and level things out that need to be, flattened out so we don't have stockpiles or that could potentially be on site and flatten slopes out, so there's nothing too steep in the area. And then if you noticed, all the stormwater management practices are installed, which includes water quality treatment, residence time to mitigate peak flows, the above-ground and underground ponds. So that will all treat stormwater in the worst case scenario with the full development, which would mean more pavement.
All right, so that has been done?
That has all been
It's all
done.
been
Okay,
done.
what hasn't been done?
Well, he,
Well, I'm just going down item by item. So we did
Oh, okay.
earthwork, and then,
10% of the earthworks
Yes.
hasn't been done.
And how much did you allocate for that?
It's on the first page.
Yeah, I'm looking at it, but I don't know where that is, actually.
Top of the page.
yeah. So if you'll see, I have 90% in blue there.
1,000,003 is the bond, and the reduction request is 1,117,000.
I got you, okay.
And actually, I've got a color copy of the black one.
Okay, thank you very much. Yep.
So I've left 10% of the earthwork for flattening out the site and doing whatever needs to be done to make way for seating. The retaining wall is 100% installed, so that's been removed. Stormwater management, we just discussed, that's all been installed and it's been removed. And then site utilities, again, we spoke about safety on site for hydrants. Gas has been appropriately installed, electric, all underground utilities and services to the building have been installed. And then we moved to soil erosion sediment control, which I've left in place at the full amount, just because there are maintenance aspects with that. And I believe leaving the whole thing would be conservative, so that there's an entire budget left there.
So the bond doesn't cover any of the landscaping, really?
No, it doesn't, but it covers,
But that's covered under a separate bond, or
No,
right.
it's not?
no.
So it could be covered under an earthwork perspective, because the remaining 175,000 is a pretty large amount.
Don't we ordinarily continue to hold some bond to assure that the landscaping survives the winter, for example, right? If that needs to be replaced?
Yes.
Those plantings along Marsh Hill didn't look particularly hardy to me.
Yeah. So there's no, if that work needs to be redone,
So if I can address that quickly, the plantings and the decorative trees and things wouldn't be included. It would be, what was in the bond would be to bring the site back to a safe position. So it would just be grass. There wouldn't be decorative things with it. Now, we can talk about including something like that, and in the actual approved documents on the landscaping notes, there is a guarantee in writing that all plantings are
Oh, on the
certified
site plan.
for 1 year. Yes, the approved plans have that in
the
writing.
landscaping plan,
Yes, yep.
part of the
So
site.
on record, all plantings that go in are guaranteed for 1 year.
Is that's your understanding?
That's pretty standard, yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
it is.
right.
It is,
So they're never included in the actual bond?
it can be.
But it wasn't here, obviously.
No, no, well, you know, I guess my comment is,
Yeah.
in relation to the fact that, you know, normally, most of the time, we don't get a request for a bond reduction. However, at the same time, it's not for this, for the amount that FedEx has had to post.
Right.
But there's certainly the option, you know, there's a request for a certain monetary amount. We can certainly, you know, increase that amount to cover.
Well, can we? I mean, this bond doesn't cover that work. So,
I think we can do it.
So.
Yeah, on the basis that you don't have to go with the total reduction, you know,
Right.
if you want to save an extra, whatever thousands it is to maintain that landscaping, you have the ability to do it.
So Tim, you've outlined leaving 175,000, which seems like sufficient monies from what you've allocated that hasn't been done yet, correct?
Correct, yeah,
And it sounds like you ballparked high on certain things.
correct. From a site safety standpoint, the only remaining items would be minor earthwork and seeding.
How much was the plantings? I don't know.
I don't have that off the top of my head. I could track it down. though.
You know, I don't think we're looking to replace the entire plantings, but, you know, a percentage of the plantings in the event that they don't make it.
well, it's, you know, it's covered.
Right. And the ones that are installed are guaranteed for that 1 year.
Well, I don't know.
When you're from when?
There's a sentence at the end of 383-11. I sent this, I emailed this, this section to you. It says, at the time of determination that all bond, that's not this, he's asking for a reduction now, but at the time when the request is made to eliminate the bond. It says, at the time of determination that all bonded improvements have been completed, the commission shall retain an amount equal to 10% of the itemized amount for landscaping for an additional period of 1 year to ensure replacement of any shrubs or trees that have died, or grass or other ground cover that has died or not grown during that period. So it sounds like we can, the way I read that,
Sounds like a mandate, actually.
yeah, that, you know, when they asked that we forfeit, eliminate the bond,
Right.
that we have to hold back 10% to ensure that
Then I'm back to how much of the plan, well, it wasn't 10% of the initial cost, right? It was. what-
10% of the itemized amount for landscaping,
For landscaping,
for an additional.
not for the whole project.
Right,
Right. Not for the whole project, and it's got nothing to do actually with,
right, so I go back to how much was the landscaping?
Well,
well, we'd have to get,
FedEx didn't spend $1.7 million on those trees,
Right.
so you're probably covered. And
why
know.
1.7, Kevin?
because we have,
175.
that if 175 would be, if that was 10%.
10% of 1.7.
Oh, okay.
Right. So if we did reduce it to that, we could have that be the final amount when they came in and hold the 175 to cover the landscaping.
Right.
We're just sort of doing it early to give them back 4.2.
I'm sorry, say the last part again?
We're just sort of doing the final step in an intermediate step where we're reducing the bond. But when they come in for the final bond release,
We're not gonna release the bond in its entirety, we're gonna hold back 10%.
and he'll tell us how much the landscaping line item was in the contract.
Right.
And
Well,
Kev's
could you
point
tell
was
us
that it
now?
was-
I don't have it offhand, but I could certainly do that. yeah.
But Kev's point was somewhat less than $1.7 million.
Right. What does the town engineer have a recommendation on this request?
I did not get a recommendation from him.
Because it says upon, I was a little surprised when I read the regulation, to be honest with you, because I didn't think that our regulations provided for a partial reduction. But it says upon written request of the applicant for reduction or release of the bond, the site shall be inspected by the town engineer and/or other appropriate town officials to determine all of the conditions of approval have been met, and if all required site improvements have been satisfactorily completed in accordance with the approved plans. And based on the findings, the commission may authorize the reduction or release of said bond and the subsequent issuance of a certificate of zoning compliance. And then the rest of it is what I read a moment ago, where it talked about at the time of determination that all bonded improvements have been taken care of. So the applicant clearly has made a request, and the regulation says that the town engineer shall inspect,
Or appropriate.
or whoever else,
The only other appropriate one I'm looking at.
is Paul, or maybe.
I think what Tim has said is accurate in terms of the work that's been done on the site.
You're comfortable with the amount of work that is remaining?
Yes, but that being said, this is a request.
Mm-hmm.
If you feel that holding some additional funds back, or not releasing, what's being proposed here and holding maybe another, I don't know, what the threshold that makes you feel comfortable, whether it's $30,000 or $40,000 or $50,000
Well, the
additional.
only thing wrong with that, though, in my mind, is it's arbitrary. I mean, the applicant, in good faith, is saying that these things are done.
But you don't have to, it doesn't say that you have to reduce the bond based
No.
upon work performed.
No, but I
No,
think
but that's
it's,
the reason why it's in the regulations, is
Yeah, yes,
because.
it
yeah,
is.
I mean, I think it's ultimately fair, we're just trying to arrive at the fair number that doesn't jeopardize or prejudice the town, you know, in the event we need to
Complete.
get the bond, yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, so I'm prejudiced because I'm an engineer.
Yes.
Okay, so the fact that this was the form under which the bond was set, and these are the items which, upon verification to the commission by our representatives, that work has in fact, to Ozzy's point,
That's the number.
that's the number.
Well, unless the town engineer or Paul or somebody.
Said this isn't
This is
done,
not
or
right.
I need another this,
Right,
or.
and
right.
I don't know,
Yeah, no,
that's my only hesitancy. I think the applicant is entitled to a reduction.
I think so
Yes.
too.
You know, under the regulations.
I agree.
And I was prepared to go with the 175 until you read the last part of the regulation there that seems to suggest that it would be a sufficient amount with regard to the plantings as well, to the landscaping as well.
It says,
10% of the
at
value
the
of the
time of
landscape.
determination that all bonded improvements have been completed, and I guess maybe the landscaping isn't even a bonded improvement, is it?
It has been for other projects.
All right, so let's assume it is. At the time of determination that all bonded improvements have been completed, the commission shall retain an amount equal to 10% of the itemized amount for landscaping for an additional period of 1 year to ensure replacement of any shrubs, blah, blah, you know, et cetera.
Yeah. So I was thinking that it would be the 175 plus whatever the 10% of the landscaping costs. Tim doesn't have that number, no offense intended. But that, I was just gonna add that to the 175.
Well, except though that when he comes in to, sign off on the bond for the remaining 175, it's at that point, I thought, that we
Oh,
hold
just
back the
remain,
10%.
retain that. Oh, okay.
No, we'll not retain, well, that or
What, the 10% of the?
10% of that.
Yeah, that's fine.
But I have no idea if 10% of that, 175 covers the landscaping.
No, what, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
To me, the math would be the landscaping line item in the FedEx budget is, let's pick a number, it was $350,000.
Go ahead, yep,
Okay, it was a number.
okay.
So when they come in for their final budget, for their final, sign off,
Certificate of occupancy.
and we say, okay, we hold 35 grand at that point.
Okay.
So
So
you-
this
it's
number is
unrelated.
inclusive, that 175 is inclusive of that 35,000?
Well,
No.
we'll reduce the 175 to 35 when they come in the next
Okay,
time.
let me go about it differently then, because.
No?
No, because I don't think the landscaping is covered under the
Then I'm
175,
back.
7 is left.
Then I'm
So
back,
you-
what happens if we have to tack, I mean.
Go ahead.
No, but I think you were on the right track, though, because what
Yeah.
I thought you were gonna say, or you were on
Go ahead.
track to say, was when they come in for their CO,
Right.
and they want, this bond doesn't have anything to do with landscaping. There's another bond, Paul's suggesting, that covers the landscaping.
Is that right?
No,
No?
not necessarily.
And we would hold back from
But
that one.
it really is up to you to determine how you want that incorporated, either in this bond or in the posting of a new bond.
Yeah. So there's two choices. You can reduce this bond, terminate it when they come in for their CO, give it all back,
Assuming that they.
assuming that they perform, and ask for a 1-year bond in a dollar value amount equal to 10% of the landscaping line item. Or you could reduce this one and then reduce it again to that amount and just have it carry out for a
Okay,
year.
so this is the difference between how you look at it and how I'm looking at it as
Oh,
an
okay.
attorney. So what happens if it goes into the crapper,
Which one?
that they don't finish what they're supposed to do, and we have to tap the 175?
Well, at that
Then
point,
there's
we're
nothing
not
left
gonna
for the
care
trees.
that the trees,
That's what I'm saying.
There's nothing left for the landscaping.
but our point, our obligation at that point isn't to have it be beautiful or have a 6-foot
supposed to be safe.
arborvitae. It's to have it stable and not eroding into to the stormwater management system.
And how much would that be?
That's what the 175 can accomplish.
Would cover that?
Yeah.
Okay.
The 175,
That's where you're going, Tim?
Yeah, that's great.
He just has a long time to get over here, I apologize.
Right. No, no, that's
Okay.
fine, take your time.
So if we held the 175.7, that's sufficient to cover the rest of the work itemized here.
correct. Well, or budgeted, because what he did is, for example, the earthwork is basically done except leveling out some stockpiles. But he left some money in there for machine time to do other things to prep it to accept the seed that'll stabilize it for stormwater management if everything went to heck.
In the event the project's not completed.
Right.
Right. And there's never a CO, they don't get it.
Right, and if that happens, that's the important thing to deal with, rather than, we just opened a shopping center and 5 trees died and we want them replaced, and for some reason they don't want to do it, and we have money and we do it ourselves. You know, but we have the building also done, and
Right.
paying
Well,
taxes.
I mean, I'm comfortable with this request.
Yeah, me too.
But I do want assurance that, you know, when they get their CO, the plantings are either alive.
Yep.
Or they replace them and that we have security
Correct.
if they don't replace them.
Okay, I was on board with what Kev said, now I'm on the other side. So what happens, so you including the trees in your request?
Again, I'll say it again. I'm comfortable with the
Me too.
the reduction they're asking for
Yep.
here, because it sounds like they've performed, and I have no reason to believe otherwise
Yeah.
at this point. So,
Make
that,
it a condition
that
of-
175.7, eventually they'll come in and ask that they no longer be obligated to provide that. And they'll do that when they can demonstrate that the rest of these things are done.
Right.
But all of that has nothing to do with the landscaping.
That was my concern.
Right, so I'm happy to reduce the bond to this amount. And I'd be happy to reduce it further to 0 when the rest of this stuff is completed. But I do want some assurance.
Well, I think didn't the regulation indicate and mandate actually that we'd hold 10% back, so when they come in for their bond,
But there is no other bond, that's the problem. There is,
well, they're gonna reduce this bond not to a 0, we'd keep 30 or 35,000 or whatever the number
but
was.
we have no idea what that,
We will when they come in.
Paulie?
so what do we do?
I think
What do
you
we
can
do
approve it
tonight, though?
conditionally and state in there, we're gonna hold 10% of what's remaining.
Pursuant to the
As per
regulation?
this regulation, boom, and it's part of the
So-
condition of
so-
approval,
so
you're
we-
aware of it.
So wait a minute. We're gonna continue to hold 175.7, and we're gonna add to that an amount sufficient to cover the landscaping. Is that what I'm?
I'm okay with that, but it sounds like that in the event that it went to the crapper and that we had to tap the bond, that we're not going to be planting the trees. The applicant is just responsible, or we're responsible for making it safe and for seeding and stuff like that, and that's what was included in the 175.7, not the planting of the dead trees, assuming that they were dead.
Right.
But
Right.
fast forward from today to
Right.
X months from now when they're getting their CO.
Yeah,
Then I think you have one of two ways to go,
Yes.
and depending on how we approve this reduction, we can move forward. So, option one is, you know, yeah, we're approving this, but when you come into your final applicant.
Make sure you have your mic on.
Sorry. Applicant, bring in an estimate on the landscaping budget for this project, so that we can calculate what the 10% reduction's gonna be, the 10% holdback's gonna be for an additional year bond once you're open. Okay? And if that's less than 175, which
Right.
it's going to be,
yeah.
you don't give them back the whole 175, you hold back whatever that is for the following year.
And that assumes it covers the landscaping, and you're.
Yes,
Yeah, okay,
yeah, 10% of the landscaping.
right.
And I'm saying
But-
that, I
Right,
think
but
that's,
what Kevin's saying is unless it's a $1.7 million landscaping job, you're gonna have the 10%.
We still have the 175.5.
Right.
Right,
Right. Okay.
yeah. And if,
What?
I'm good with it.
and I'm gonna become a landscaper if that was a $1.7 million landscaping job.
Does that all make sense? I mean, I think
Yes,
we're all
I
on the
think
same
so.
page.
No, yeah, I mean, I think we're gonna be okay.
Yeah, before I understood all the things that weren't included in that bond, I thought we needed our heads examined, but.
Right.
If all those other
No,
things
this is a
get pulled out.
$15 million project or so. Do you have any idea what the overall project?
I'm not sure what the full budget is, but
Okay,
yeah,
yeah.
it's quite a bit larger.
yeah.
I think the concrete alone might be this budget.
That's the project, and we're all worried about a few trees.
Yeah. All right, yeah, we got security.
All right. As long as that, I mean, I think we're all on the same page. And I think the regulations, yes, we have discretion, but I mean, the way it's written, I see no reason why we shouldn't reduce the bond accordingly.
Right.
All right. Any further questions for the applicant?
No, thank
All
you,
right.
Ken.
Then, is somebody prepared to make a motion on the request?
I would like to make a motion on the request to, let's get the right language. I would like to make a motion to approve the request for a reduction in the site plan bond, FedEx 161 Marsh Hill Road, from the current bond amount of $4,381,284 to be reduced to $175,700, with the understanding that upon the applicant coming in for the final bond release, that they will present the commission with an estimate showing what the 10% of the original landscape budget was, so that that amount can be retained.
From the
Pursuant.
175.7?
Yep.
All right.
How's that?
That's exactly the way I understood it.
Second.
All right, we have a motion, it's been seconded. Any further discussion?
No.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Very good. All right, that concludes our agenda.
Sir.
Before we do end,
I'm sorry.
I apologize if new business would have been a better spot for this.
My head's gonna blow off.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'll try to let everybody get out of here. But as we mentioned, Paul is, that fateful day is coming around sooner rather than later. So I wanted to kind of address everyone and ask, is there anything from me that you specifically want to look over, or notes, or something in the next coming months while he's still here, or month, that I could, kind of focus on, familiarize myself with even more? Like he said, I've been doing, everything with Paul for a while now, but, keep in mind, I haven't been doing this for 40 years. So any notes or input that the commission has, I would like to hear and do my best to act on, whether it be right now, or if you think of something later, email me, anything. But, obviously your input would be helpful and,
Right.
Help me along, so.
Sure.
If there's anything now, or like I said, later, then feel free to get in contact with me, but, now is the time to be looking at those sort of things, so.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you very much. Yes, I don't have
you.
anything to mention
Yeah,
right now, but I'm
right,
sure
right,
we'll
yeah, I don't
all
mean to
think
put you
of
on the
stuff.
spot, but,
Yeah,
yeah.
no, I'm sure we'll all think of stuff as we go
Okay.
along.
Absolutely.
All right, very good. Again, now, a motion to adjourn.
Yes. Move
We
to
have
adjourn.
a motion to adjourn. A second? Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, thank you.
Thanks, guys.